Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast. We're having an international special today, and I'm joined by Nathan Doyle and Neal Dobbs from thebigkickoff.com. And let's start from, I suppose, today, Nathan, and 1-0 win for Ireland. It doesn't really, well, nearly tells the tale, but it doesn't tell the tale because it was probably a lucky win in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's sort of the late Troy Parrott goal. We're just actually fresh off the game, literally.
A beautiful goal, though, in all fairness.
Yeah, no, cracking goal in fairness to Troy. And when Troy came on, I thought he made such a huge difference. He was really lively, and his movement, he offered a lot more than what Will Keane did. In fairness, he was very quiet for a lot of the game. I think the unfortunate thing is about this Lithuania game now coming off a 1-0 win. I think a lot of us were expecting a comprehensive victory, weren't we, coming into this one, looking at a Lithuania side that I think they're in the bottom six
137th in the world,
rankings. I know,
yeah.
look, we can take these rankings with a pinch of salt, but coming off a great result from a 2-2 draw to Belgium now to just about beating Lithuania with a last minute goal, I think it's sort of put a dampener on what was turning out to be an excellent couple of days. But yeah, thankfully Troy did save face. Look, we can also go through what was the 4 offside goals throughout the game. In fairness, a lot of all 4 were spot on. There's no arguments there. There was a penalty, half-hearted penalty shout by Obafemi as well. It wasn't a penalty. Look, for me, it was basically, if we're looking at Lithuania, the squad as a whole, there's no notable names. I think 1 or 2 of them played in the SPL, and that was it really. Defended very deep, defended very narrow. I think that's where Ireland probably got the most attacking moments with the 2 wing-backs. Ryan Manning in the first half had plenty of joy down that left-hand side, and then vice versa, Matt Doherty in the second half down the right. Just it's a shame his end product, I thought, throughout a lot of the game was absolutely below standard, to say the least.
And that was one of the things, Nathan, just stop you there. That was one of the things that was the problem, that we got ourselves into positions and the crosses, the delivery wasn't great.
Yeah, from open play, Roy, and from set pieces, I think, I think if you're looking at chances that Ireland had, we were left to long distance efforts for a majority of the game, with a lot of them going high and wide and not very handsome. 2 big chances probably laid on. The John Egan header, I think the 88th minute, and then Troy Parrott had a snapshot a couple of minutes before his goal. 2 good saves for the goalkeeper, who was a bit erratic throughout the games. He had a couple of nervy moments as well, but yeah. Look, while it was hardly the most exciting 90 minutes of football we'll ever see, we literally went from one extreme to the other. I think we went from such a vibrant team performance against Belgium with a lot of positives to taking a bit of a backward step to what we're used to seeing. But yeah, look, it continues to be unbeaten one now. I think 8 games unbeaten. We're a year on now from that disastrous Luxembourg defeat. We've only lost once against Portugal since that defeat, so I'm still on that high train. I'm still on that Stephen Kenny bus.
Neil, the weekend we seen a 2-2 draw against Belgium. A lot of people try to downplay the result because it's a 2-2 draw with a team that we're missing the likes of De Bruyne and I was going to say Hazard, but sure, no, it doesn't really make a difference what Hazard does at the moment.
The better Hazard was in the squad.
Eden Hazard obviously isn't the better of the Hazards at the moment, but the likes of Lukaku and a lot of their star players were missing. But it was a squad that had players with under 50 caps, but if you have 40 caps, you've 30 caps, you've 25 caps, you're an established international. So, and we could see that there was quality there, especially when you look at the Lithuanian game tonight. You can see the quality that Belgium had. That was a good result, and we should take away a lot from that, because our team is young, our team is up and coming, and it was a great experience for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? I mean, look, you got to look at a bit of perspective on this. I mean, as Nathan was alluding to there, it was a year since we probably had one of our worst results ever. And, the noise were out. And, if you look how far we've come, I guess, Lithuania today in our own backyard, it wasn't really convincing. But it does show at least we're on the front foot against these teams and that we are creating. I know the final ball was poor tonight, but it is showing progression. It is showing that a team comes to Aviva and they're sitting back and they're allowing us play from the back, and they're allowing us dictate. They're allowing us to dictate the kind of flow of play, which is good. The Belgium game obviously then goes up a couple of notches. The crowd is in, the crowd is hungry, and we really needed to deliver results. And to be honest with you, I don't really care what Belgian team that they put out, because they're still a quality side. And if you watch, watching the game, I thought they Belgium managed the game very well. They played from the back. They were comfortable in possession, and they didn't really change their style of play. So at the end of the day, it was more about what Ireland could bring to the table. Could we put them out of their stride? Could we get in their faces? And let's be honest, for any top 5, top 6 in the world team, Ireland have never really gone or been able to go toe to toe with them, press them in the final third, and kind of make that little bit of a different impression, be a home or away. We would normally do what Lithuania did to us tonight. We would be sitting back with the 2 banks of 4, trying to defend for our lives. So there's a refreshing aspect of it. I think it's shown a bit of progression, and it's shown that, I think the crowd and the players now on the pitch are kind of equal insofar as they have a little bit of expectation that probably isn't unfair on both sides.
Yeah. Nathan, when you look at the 2 teams, the starting 11 in both games, I suppose, what does it tell us about the starting 11 that Stephen will put out for the Nations League? Is there people who we just can't do without?
Yeah, I think that was always going to be a chop and change in terms of personnel. What I found interesting that he seems to really be honing in now, doesn't he, on a flat back three and using the 2 wing backs. It seems to be really important. I don't know about you, before we go on to that one, talking about the 2 wing backs. It was the first time in quite a while now in an Ireland jersey where I thought Seamus Coleman looked a bit off the pace in the Belgium game. I don't know if he's coming off a lack of confidence through what's going on at club level at Everton. I know they're really struggling in the league, but yeah, I thought wasn't it Nathan Collins that slipped in? He made his first start against Lithuania. I thought he didn't put a foot on at all in that team. So yeah, in terms of personnel, I don't think we can get too bogged down in these friendly games. It was more I enjoyed seeing the formation going forward. I think coming in now to a fresh batch of Nation League games and obviously the Euro 2024 qualifiers. I think the draw is being made in October for the groups. If I was looking at people who I have a big emphasis on, Ogbeni is the obvious choice. He was excellent against Belgium. Hassled a little bit against Lithuania without doing an awful lot. I thought, for me, obviously Ogbeni got a lot of praise against Belgium. I thought Josh Cullen, for me, was probably the man of the match. I thought he was excellent himself, and John Egan are going to be vital to the spine of that Ireland team going forward. So, if I'm not
going to lie to you, Nathan, I was nearly angling at Josh Cullen because he has become a pivotal player for us, hasn't he?
He has, big time. He really, really has, in his position that we've been lacking in for a long time, Well, looking at Hendrick. For instance, Hendrick, he didn't do too much wrong against Belgium, but he's not going to be a long-term option at all. We'd be looking at him at Josh Cullen, Jason Malumbi. The verdict's still out there a little bit as well. So while there's some decent holding midfield players, not only like they're in their bounce, like I said, likes of Malumbi, and even Knight, you could probably, if he wanted to go back there, probably be looking at the under 21s, but again, that's down the line, and that's how they progress and how they come into club level. But yeah, Josh Cullen, he's ready made there. He's playing week in, week out for Anderlecht. I was surprised even when he went to Anderlecht there was no English club that came in for him, just with the talk that was surrounding him at West Ham.
I think I'm delighted, Nathan, that there was
it probably worked out well for him, didn't he?
Yeah.
My only issue was that I was afraid he would have sort of went out of sight, out of mind, but thankfully that's something that hasn't happened, because he really is a quality player, and what he brings to this Ireland team in terms of just composure and his range of passing, his defensive game. He's not the most glamorous player in the world. I seen him being linked to the likes of Glenn Whelan, which probably isn't the most flattering links in the world, but look, Glenn on his day, Glenn wasn't a terrible part of that Ireland team, so I think we'll see the likes of that from Josh Cullen hopefully for years to come.
Yeah, Neil, I was impressed by Jason Knight. I think he's a quality player, very calm and cool and collected on the ball. Doesn't get he's very composed, I suppose. When you look at the Ogbene, you look at Robinson, Keane, you've got Parrott there, you've got Knight. Who do you see sort of settling into the main three in that position?
It's funny you're calling out the names there, and I'm thinking to myself, it's more of a question of me of how well they link with your wing back. And if you've got Matt Doherty on one side and maybe McLean or Manning or whoever was there tonight, it's going to be your 2 wide men of your trees in your front three. Your Ogbene seems to have gotten his nose in the door now, and he seems to be riding high. He got himself a great goal, so I think he's kind of out ahead of the rest. I think Robinson is there because maybe your last campaign where he kind of finished on a high, but he's still doing the real good work behind the scenes. He's closing players down. He looks very positive going forward. So Knight is probably that one position. I think that I won't say it's up for grabs, but I think he's grabbed it insofar as link-up play was really, really good. As you're saying there, you need guys out wide now that can become composed on the ball because your wing backs are now practically your wingers, but you need a guy that can hold the ball up, that can allow people to get past them, that can link play. It's not that traditional, we don't play as like Premier League standards in like a Mo Salah and a Sadio Mane. We need a guy that can link play, cross the ball, that can be durable, that can, get up and down the line. And Knight seems to have the engine to do that. And Benny tonight, again, that's 2 games in a row now. He's shown the ability to draw a man in, to go by a man. So it's a different ingredient that Ireland are looking for in them positions that if you go back 5 to 10 years when, you had your Kevin Kilbans and then your McLean's out there, it's a different ingredient that Knight has. And as you say, I think it's his composure that for me kind of puts him a little bit ahead of the rest.
And I think he's nothing against the other lads, but I think he's a mentally a better footballer than the rest of them. I think he sees things. I think he can. He doesn't just stay. He's not static. He moves it in. If he sees space, he'll move out wide. If he sees space, he'll drop deep if he sees that it's the right thing to do. I just think he's a clever footballer. Where with Logbene and Robinson, it comes down to pace. Keane, listen, it's early doors for him, and I know he's 28 or 29, but at the moment, I don't see a starting lineup for him. I'm not seeing
Parrott, maybe, Roy. Troy Parrott, kind of, he ran that line tonight, didn't he, when he came on? He was coming into that channel, and he did very, very well out of it. That's what I'm saying, though, right? It's an evolution. If you look back in the last 20 years of Irish wingers or, attacking wingers, it's an evolution of the way we've played. And this is a Stephen Kenny trait that he doesn't just want a guy in the wing that's going to run in and pass a ball or cross a ball, and that's the end of his kind of skill set. He wants a guy that's clever to run the channel when it needs to be, to bring players into play. And again, Knight seems to be just grabbing that opportunity. So I think it's fallen really, really nicely now this last few games. Well, not tonight, but the Belgium game, I think, fell well for him. And if he keeps putting them type of performances in, I think he's in with a good shout at starting there.
Yeah, I think as well, if I'm looking at central strikers going forward, the likes of Will Keane, James Collins, Scott Hogan, they're all quite one-dimensional as well, aren't they? It's... I think going forward,
aren't they?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. It's a 20-minute 1-1, looking for a goal. It's a classic, isn't it? Lump them up, get the ball into their feet. But I think, if you're looking at them, the 3 of them don't really offer an awful lot. And I suppose the 2 big omissions that a lot of people were complaining about when the squad came out, and there's actually not a mention of them now anymore, is Aaron Connolly and Michael Obafemi. Do you think that they slot in anywhere going forward?
No.
No.
Not unless they change. What would I say? Probably attitude, because I actually think Obafemi believes he has done something where he hasn't done anything just yet. He needs to get his head down and at club level really dominate and start putting the ball in the back of the net, which you need from your strikers. When you look at Connolly didn't get in at Brighton for a reason. He was in and then he didn't get in. Then he started to miss a couple of games with Middlesbrough as well. I think the 2 of them need to focus really hard on what their game is, because I'm not sure they know what their game is. Connolly, is he a winger or is he a centre forward? Yeah. I don't think he's figured it out. Obafemi doesn't score enough goals, and he's not a centre forward, an out and out goal scorer. So where does he play in a team? I think they need to find out where they play. At the moment, for me, they don't get into the team. Connolly could, for maybe in the winger position, but ahead of who? Who's on that team now at the moment? I just don't see it.
We've said it many times about Connolly, haven't we? Though we don't know yet whether he played through the middle or plays wide, and you seem to think he has that pace to burn somebody out wide, but his decision making has been very poor for Ireland in the last 2 outings. So I think he needs to go back to kind of almost grassroots and get it right at club level, and then you'll have a look at him and think, no, do you know what? That's his position outside left, if that's where you're going to put him.
Yeah, because he's like,
for now it's up in the air.
He's playing off the cuff now, isn't he? He's like, it's like, I have this talent, it's pace. I've got not a bad touch at times. but he doesn't play the balls into the right areas at times. He loses the ball often. He might dribble when he should pass, and he might pass when he should dribble, and it's just his decision making isn't right at the moment. So I think he does need to step back, have a little look. What am I, and what am I about when I'm on the pitch? So listen, there's definitely talent in them, definitely, absolutely, but they have no God-given right to get into the Ireland squad, and there's a lot of other players there. Ogbene especially, and he's stood out a mile, but he has the right attitude. You can see he gets on the ball, he takes on players, he's delivering crosses, he's positive, he's applauding people, encouraging people. There's everything that's right about him there. So the lads need to probably look at him as a little bit of inspiration.
Isn't it a great thing though, Roy? Sorry, just for in the space of a year where Adam Ida was our only kind of ball winner, we were lobbing balls up to him and hoping him to hold in play, and we've evolved our front three now where you've Ogbene, you've Knight, you've Robinson, and even Troy Parrott there now that are all of a sudden competition. We're not talking about Connolly where he was one of the front runners a year ago when we were kind of saying who would go into the next campaign, and all of a sudden you have options and you have hungry guys that are dying for vying for them 3 spots that want to get in. So from that point of view, very positive.
And that's what Stephen Kenny has done.
A lot of people are talking about. Sorry, right. A lot of people are talking about this young lad as well in the 21s, Fessi Obasale as well.
Yeah.
He's apparently doing very well at Derby. Can't say to be a massive Derby County connoisseur, but it's another name that's popping up as an exciting young talent that could be the fun tree.
Has he not gone to Udinese?
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
He's
At
the end of the season, I think.
That's what caught me eye. Yeah, because obviously James Banquet has gone over there as well. So to see the two of them make the move over around the same time, it could be interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Can't remember what I was going to say, Nathan. So doesn't matter now. Oh no, I tell you what it was. It was the fact that now. We've seen it where Ireland, Callum Robinson slips out to the left and Knight comes into the centre, and then he's nearly playing that false 9 where he's dropping around the place, and there's a little bit more movement in this Ireland team, bit of interchanging and stuff, so it's not as static as we used to be. Get the ball out the left, there's someone out the left. Get the ball out the right, there's someone out the right. Get the ball into the box. There is a bit more fluidity to the team, and you will look at this now in a year's time and you'll be hoping that this Ireland team has progressed even further, and that you're look at the stats tonight. 79% possession against Belgium. How many times did we get on the ball, keep the ball for long periods of time, and then create something from it? So it's a different Ireland now altogether, and it really is great to see. Nathan, when you look at our goalkeepers, Kelleher in goal today and at the weekend, he didn't have too much to do, in all fairness, in the games. That's a good sign, I suppose, when you look at it. The team is solid, because when we're defending, we have the 5 back and the 2 sitting in front. It eventually turns into a 5-4-1. But this team is not just about the possession now. We are getting a little bit more solid, albeit we did concede 2 goals the weekend.
Yeah, the 2 goals against Belgium, in fairness to Kelleher, there was nothing he could have done about it. I think the only defensive mistake he could look at the 2 goals was the second Belgian goal from the corner. It was practically a free header, and there was another man behind Vanaker that scored the header that was open as well. That's the only real one nitpick. But in terms of goalkeeper, it's actually a position we've been very fortunate in, isn't it, down the years, and it looks like we have another rich as a talent going forward. Like Kelleher's there, Bazunu, excellent goalkeeper. For me, he'd be the number 1 going forward. I said it a few times, Roy. I really think he has what it takes to replace Ederson when he leaves Man City. I think he's that good of a goalkeeper.
Might not get the chance though.
That's the thing. Look, but if we're just talking about qualities alone, I think he has the qualities to do it. Look, the chances are that's neither here nor there. That's, who knows what can happen in that aspect. Mark Travers has done brilliant, hasn't he? He came in, he struggled at first in the Ireland squad, but at club level he's been excellent at Bournemouth. He hasn't put a foot on whatsoever.
Can I just step in there, Nathan? Because
go ahead, Joe.
Matt Holland was talking on Sky Sports tonight, and he was saying Ireland are absolutely blessed to have 2 great goalkeepers, Bazunu and Kelleher. 2 great goalkeepers going forward. So he kind of dismissed Mark Travers, but Mark Travers is in a team. He's the only regular, really. Well, he is. Bazunu's regular, but he's a regular at a championship level, and most likely at a Premiership level next year, with Bournemouth going up. You can't write off Mark Travers, can you? Because
no.
I'm going to come on to this with Neil now. Kelleher's not getting his game. He doesn't seem to be going to leave. So he's nearly already indicating that he's happy with his lot. And with, you look at Darren Randolph, he's been taken out of this side and not even looked at because he decided to choose his third place spot at West Ham rather than first team football at Middlesbrough. So is that what's going to happen to Kelleher, do you think?
I think we alluded like a couple of weeks ago, Roy, where Dave was here and we were saying about Kelleher. It was probably after they won the Carabao Cup of where we're going to go with Kelleher and what's going to happen. So he has a big look. He's a big future ahead of him. I think either way. I think the way Liverpool are angling, and obviously I'd be paying a bit more of attention to it. I don't know if you've seen the thing they sent to his club, this lovely message and a signed thing with his goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So Liverpool are really playing their cards very cleverly here, and I think the reason why they're doing it is because they need him as a number 2 if Alisson gets injured. There's no point having him, from a selfish point of view. There's no point having Kelleher, say, on loan in the Championship, playing a full season where if you cannot call him back in a state of emergency where you need him. And I don't think they trust Adrian as the number 2 now. So Liverpool are too high profile. You can't allow games to get away. They literally can't slip up once. So if an event where you need him to step in, you need him there, and you need him with the academy, you need him training with the first team goalkeeper. And I think they've been very clear on that. But they're also being very clever in how they're grooming him, and they gave him his Carabao Cup final, and they're making all the right noises that he's the next best thing. But like with Bazunu and Ederson at City, he may never, ever get to fill them shoes. And that would be a massive, massive shame.
So that's what I'm saying, Nathan. So I want you to take that over. How does that sit then with the Irish team? Because he's been talked up an awful lot, as Neil has pointed out really well there, that it looks like that he's going to be sitting on the bench again next year. So does he get a look in ahead of the other two?
I think it would be harsh on the other two, wouldn't it, playing week in, week out, especially Travers. Like, it's someone that is going under the radar completely. We even hear people mention League of Ireland goalkeepers ahead of him. And look, biggest League of Ireland advocate there is, but you simply can't. Like I said, Travers playing week in, week out at the highest level. With a Bournemouth side, they're pretty much odds on, aren't they, to get a promotion this season, whether it be automatic or via the playoffs. I think it'd be harsh, really, really harsh on Bazunu and Travers if they're going to continue to play week in, week out. As good as Kelleher has done when he's been called upon for Ireland and for Liverpool, but as Neil has said so well, he seems happy enough to stay there. Whether that be for the short term or the long term is remain to be seen, but yeah, I think you have to go with your goalkeepers that are playing the most consistently at club level. And I'd say that for most other positions as well across the team.
The only thing I would say, Roy Kelleher, is that there is something freaky cold about that kid. There's something ice cold about him that he can come off the bench without playing very little or no games other than maybe Carabao Cup, and then go into these big games, and he is absolutely ice cold. I've never seen anything like it. To see the calmness, when years ago, I'd say for Liverpool, when the ball used to go back to Simon Mignolet and Brendan Rodgers tried to get him to play it out of his box, your heart was in your mouth. There's some keepers that don't instill a confidence in you, whereas Kelleher, you are absolutely 100% sure he's as cool as the other side of the pillow. There's something in his mentality that is rare in goalkeepers. And I'm not saying, Travers or Bazunu don't have it, but the only thing going for Kelleher, I would say at this point, is that he's kind of proven he can step in from the coldest of cold and do a job at the highest level. But again, and I'd agree with Nathan, I don't think you could overlook a guy that's playing week in, week out in the Premier League and doing the business, long term. You just couldn't justify it.
Well, when you look at the English team and Gareth Southgate, he picks his side on form. Every squad that he picks on form. He doesn't pick people on reputation and what they have done. The only person I would say he does it with is Pickford in goal, where every time he turns up for England, he does a good job for them, where at Everton it's a little bit more shaky. But other than that, you are there. If you're not playing well, you're not in. Now, that's easy to do when you have an abundance of riches. Can Stephen Kenny, Neil, afford to do the same thing?
I think in goal, like I have to say, Roy, I would have great confidence that Kelleher could do you a job, but just I think it's almost like a natural pecking order. It's very rare on an international keeper in particular. You have to have another kind of layer of ilk about you to step into the international nets. I won't say it would be careless, but it would be puzzling to see Kelleher, and this is from a Liverpool fan, it would be puzzling for me to see Kelleher start ahead of either of them guys. But maybe not Travers because he's not in the picture now. But if Travers comes into the Premier League next year, starts the first 10 games for Bournemouth and equips himself well, it would be very puzzling not to see him claim that almost on merit. Do you know what I mean? Now, unless Kenny sees something that we don't see, and listen, maybe he would do. But for me, you play the team that is in form, guys with experience, guys that are doing the job week in, week out, because it is a pivotal position. So, it's up in the air a little, but I think, as Nathan said, the dark horse could be Travers. If he gets into the Premier League and his kind of profile goes up that bit, all of a sudden, he's in the paper all the time and people are asking what's going on. Maybe that'll be enough to get him in ahead.
Okay, Nathan, when we look forward, does James McLean have a future? We talked about this probably last year when they got beaten by Luxembourg. He's not doing too much wrong, though, is he? He works hard. He's getting good deliveries in. He inspires. So, is it fair enough that he's in the squad? He's in the team.
Do you know, not that long ago, I was wondering why is he getting into these squads. There was a stage where he was turning up, it was nothing about him at all. But even just looking at these two games against Belgium and Lithuania as isolations, I played a lot more against Belgium. While not doing anything stellar, they were great that he didn't put a foot wrong at all. I still would have himself and Hendricks and Coleman in the category of that the time is probably numbered. There's going to be lads playing at a higher level, whether that be Championship or hopefully the Premier League, playing on a more consistent basis. Then the likes of the three lads that I mentioned, and there is others in the squad as well that you could see them go sooner rather than later. But even if I'm just looking at this Nation League campaign, which is just because it's coming up the most soon, yeah, I would have him in there in the squads when it does come to playing Ukraine, Scotland and Armenia. Just what he offers even behind the scenes, by all accounts, he's a great personality to have around. Look, we know how much the passion and commitment that he has to playing Ireland, and I think that was one takeaway that away from the off-field performances that I've seen from especially the Belgian game, there was a willingness and a passion there, wasn't there, by a lot of the lads that actually wear the Ireland jersey. And while that might sound like just sentimental trough for the sake of it, it's something that has been missing for the past couple of years, and I think it's something that can't be understated either.
No, the only thing is that, as I said, you need to be on form, so you don't just get in. You have to get in on merit. So at the moment, James McLean has been doing that. Let's say he doesn't. Let's say he drifts, and by the end of this season or by the September, all of a sudden his stock falls a little bit in Stephen Kenny's eyes. Neil, who steps in?
I would be very reluctant, as in to drop the likes of James McLean out of there, number one, because I think you need to keep a very close eye on the amount of experience you have in your team, maybe even in the spine of the team. The likes of Duffy, Egan, McLean have all, they've been around quite a long time. Thought Manning did a decent job there tonight. He looked hungry. He got down the line. He was crossing balls. He was crossing from deep. There was a lovely little moment where I think he crossed the ball, it took a deflection, and within like 6 seconds he'd won the ball back and was going back up the pitch again. So it was a nice little cameo role for him, and a kind of a low enough profile game where, for me, I didn't know a whole lot about him, and then I was Googling him, kind of going, right, what's going on here and what's he all about? So maybe that could be the opportunity as someone, like the Nation League games are coming now. What do we get, like 6 games or something like that? So yeah, I'm sure Stephen Kenny's very aware he needs to have someone that can step in there. I think with Matt Doherty and Seamus Coleman, you've kind of got safe hands on the right. With James McLean on the left, you definitely do need an understudy or someone that is going to be the next thing. So I'm hoping the likes of Manning can step up, because he looked decent tonight, but I just want to see him across a couple more games.
Yeah. Nathan, when you look at the tickets that were sold for the game, it was a good crowd on the weekend against Belgium. There's a half a stadium full tonight against Lithuania. I was looking at the prices of some of the tickets at the weekend. Section B, so that's the middle section, 120 quid per ticket, which is absolutely ridiculous price for a football game. And I mean, who they think is going, especially in this day and age. Right, they got the people in for the Belgium game, but the Lithuania game, surely to God they can drop the prices by about half. Those same tickets again were 90 quid, 80 quid. they should be dropping down to surely half the price, shouldn't they? Just they think about it. It makes no sense financially anyhow, because you're getting empty seats. You get more people in, and you get the same amount of money. It just doesn't make any sense not to lower the prices.
You've asked the right person this question, Roy, because I gave out stink to you for 12-20 minutes because I had to pay a €2 service charge. Remember, I got my online ticket to a Shamrock Rovers game. I think, again, look, if I'm just going to be looking at the Nation League because it's coming up, you imagine the Scotland game at home will bring a bit of traction. The Ukraine game, it's still up in the air, isn't it? There's been no announcement made on what's going to happen with the Ukraine.
That's in June, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
so
June,
will that
September.
be on, as you said, because of the Scotland game, it may not be on when June rocks around, because they have to play that semi-final then and probably final. So that may not happen either way.
But like the likes of the Armenia game, though, that should be a thing of where Armenia and Lithuania be seen on the same level. It won't be the most glamorous game to go to. Yeah, I do. I think it's been an issue for a long time, and I think it's outpricing a lot of fans as well, you know, where they you just can't justify paying that sort of money to go see Lithuania. Where look, your Belgiums and your Germanys and your Spains of this world, you will get people, even if it's people that don't have much of an interest in football, just to go as a spectacle and to more so see the opposition players as well, more than anything else.
But there was plenty of tickets left over for that Belgium game.
Was there?
You need to buy, lads, the season ticket. You can buy a season ticket with kind of a couple of kids on it. We do it for about, you get maybe 6 or 7 maybe tickets for about £500 season pass. It's not too bad when you do it like that, but I wouldn't be going by the individual game, because you know yourself, remember back in the day when you drew like France or Germany or something like that, and all of a sudden only people wanted to go to that game, you ended up spending the 120 on the one ticket. But that could do you for maybe 3 or 4 games, or a campaign if you're to go the other way. But the family pass is kind of the way to go if you're going to worry about tickets.
Nathan, you need to start that family up. So
there you go.
Neil, oh no, actually tell you what, we'll go to, Nathan, we'll go to the Republic of Ireland fan question, because we got a question sent in to us, and interesting to hear what it is.
Yeah. He's only gone and done the hat-trick, right? Aaron Nesbitt, 3 weeks in a row. Fair play to him, mate. It's the worst thing he could have said to me was, if you need a question, let me know. So we'll see him. We'll see him again. But look, anyone listening with a League of Ireland question, or just an Irish football question that you have, send them in to the big kickoff. We'd love to have them. So Aaron this week came out with a blinder. He says, on the topic of club versus country, what side of the fence do you lads fall on?
Yeah.
Club versus country in what manner? As in, what do I rather see do well?
I'll start you off. I'd rather see St. Pat's win the FAI Cup than Ireland win the World Cup. God honest truth. Yeah.
What?
Million percent.
Okay.
Wouldn't even think about it. Because, like, I look at it weird. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of the big wall puncher fans that screams at the telly, and, you know, like, if my team lose, it annoys me. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't ruin my weekend. Doesn't, you know. When you go to games live, you obviously do a bit more shouting than at the telly, but I'd never be a big, you know, like, break the bleeding seats and run amok and because Pat's got beaten. But I'd be much more emotionally invested.
Does it not affect your weekend?
Does not affect your weekend at all. Surely it does.
I'm a very placid person. Like, I wouldn't be that sort of person. I wouldn't let it affect me that much.
There's something weird about him.
I'd go out. Yeah, to be one of them, just behind the eyes, like.
I don't know if you watch Nigeria tonight, but they went
up
to the field after they lost the game.
I'd have a couple of points, and I think I'd just get over it. Yeah. That'd be it, really. So. Yeah,
so are you asking me, Nate, would I rather?
If you had a choice of your club do well or your country do well, what would you rather have?
Right. If it was, say for example, Ireland to like win a World Cup or win a Euros, versus anything else in football, I'd go for Ireland to win the Euros. It would be just the most phenomenal thing in the world for Ireland to win. I was in Greece when Greece won the Euros way back when, and I've never seen scenes like it in my life. I was over there for the semi-final and the final. It was just amazing, and for something like that to happen in Ireland would eclipse anything else that I would ever hope to happen in football. That would be the ultimate for me.
I think when Ireland get to major championships now, it's nothing compared to what Italia 90 was and USA 94 and even Euro 88, although it's slightly younger for that. But Italia 90 and USA 94, the country was mental. It was absolutely
electric,
unbelievable. Now, when you look at when Martin O'Neill got us, or Trapp got us to the European Championships, it wasn't the same. It wasn't even at the same level as those tournaments. Now, if Ireland got to a World Cup and then they started to challenge, you're going to feel that buzz again. And that was the biggest buzz you could get in football, bar none. So to be dancing in the streets with 40 Pats fans, or to be dancing in the streets with a couple of million Irish people, I think there's only one thing. I would give away all my footballing rights to see Ireland win a major championship, especially the World Cup. So that's my one. I think Neil's on the same wavelength. Can you convince us otherwise, Nathan?
I probably can't now. But see, I think that's an interesting caveat of what you said there about the combat to Italia 90 and 94. It wasn't even a dirty thought
you haven't
in
experienced
head at that stage. No. Like you could go back to the famous game of Stuttgart, even beating England. The Italian 90 run. My biggest one is the Robbie Brady header against Italy, which was in the round of 16 or something. As big of a moment as that was,
which is a big moment, yeah.
They don't compare to
I think, Nathan, I think what the problem is that because Irish football had been so dire for over a decade or more, that young fans like yourself had and I'd seen it because I was up coaching at football sessions, and there'd be an Ireland match on. Said, "We go home, watch the Ireland match, lads." No, they're shy. They had no interest. So I can understand why St. Pat's or Shamrock Rovers or Liverpool or Man United, well, maybe not Man United, but those teams would be more interested in Ireland, because when we watched Trapattoni's and Martin O'Neill's, albeit during the Euros itself for a couple of those games, it was great. But generally the football was absolutely dire, and probably they should never be allowed to coach again. And funny enough, they aren't coaching again. There's a reason for that, because they were past their best. I generally think that you and fans of that age just haven't felt what it was like to have the country rocking, and if you get that, you really just want more. So
what I'd say as well is, right, you need a generation of players that fans aspire to be, and we haven't had someone like that in quite a while. I mean, you look at the young lads coming through now, say the likes of Ogbenny now, I'd say he's got followers, and I heard tonight his name was read out and there was a big yell because people are identifying with him now. You need to, Ireland need to find the next version of stars that the kids want to get out and meet and they want to go out and see, and that's where it comes from. You go back there to 90 and whatnot, every player on that field was a household name. Everyone knew who they were. Whereas now tonight, sure, even I'm Googling, your left winger and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you need to be able to identify with the players on the pitch. And Nathan can identify with the players at his club because he knows them all so well. And I think that's missing from Ireland. And I hope now during this campaign, the attractive style of football, the way we're setting ourselves up, number one, bears fruit. We can get to a championship. And then number two, we can identify with these new crop of players.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we'll leave it on that because it's a valid point. Nathan, thanks very much for your time. Neil, as always, thanks very much. And of course, don't forget the big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast. Purely League of Ireland will be back next week, so don't forget to tune in. And of course, have a look back. There's been some episodes with Graham Gartland last week, Sean Connor, Stephen Henderson, and there will be more to come in the future weeks, and I hope you are enjoying them so far. We've had a lot of good feedback, so we will see you next week.